Hello everyone, welcome back. I am Nicci the Great coming at you again with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about a very sensitive subject in the news right now, okay? I do want you to know that I am coming from a Christian viewpoint, a Christian stance. Before we even get into it, I want to go ahead and let you know that. And I also want to share with you, if you don't already know, the reason for this is because of the overturning of the Roe versus Wade account that happened, I think about 2 weeks ago. Okay. And so I should have made this video like when it happened, but I wanted to go on ahead because I don't think anybody was expecting this to actually get passed, right? For the making abortions illegal. But I wanted to go on ahead and kind of gather my thoughts. I wanted to have some conversations with other believers, and believe it or not, it's also it's something that is also the talk of the town in the Christian world, okay? And so even I've heard pastors say certain things that, probably, I'm not going to say it's not in the word, but everyone's got a different viewpoint, okay? Whether you are secular in the world or whether you're a Christian, you're Bible based, okay? So I want to go ahead and share some things with you. And the subject of this is abortions do open up demonic doors, okay? And I want to share with you a couple situations, a couple stories that I know of personally, okay, where this abortion actually haunted the mother for several years, and to this day it still is haunting them, okay? And so these women that I'm going to be sharing with you are women that I have personally known, women I know, women I've spent time with, women that I actually can put my hands on, okay? So these stories aren't coming from the papers. These stories aren't coming from somebody else. These are stories of people that I know firsthand, okay? Just so I can add a basis, a foundation of how this opens up demonic doors, okay? And for this small group of women, I know this is not just an isolated thing. In other accounts that I've read, in books or online, there's a haunting, there's a spiritual deviancy. Okay, whether the woman is familiar with it or not, there is a spiritual deviancy. And so, if you are watching this video and you're contemplating an abortion, this is for you. And if you've already had an abortion, this is for you. If you are kind of on the fence, not knowing what to do, this video is for you. And if you are just gathering information just to be able to understand some things, this video is for you as well, okay? If you have not already, please subscribe and hit that little notification bell below so you can be made aware of any new videos that I post in the future. Okay, let's go on ahead and dive into story time with a young lady that I used to know. I still know her, but we were really, really, really close several years ago, okay? And to give you a backstory of this young lady, she was grown, very much so grown. She was in her 30s. I knew her at a point in my life where I was in the world. Okay, so I wasn't practicing Christianity. I wasn't, gung-ho for God like I am now. Okay, so she was in her 30s. She already had several children that were taken from her. And they were being raised by either their fathers, or they were being raised by an uncle, or distant family members were already raising her children. Was she in her right mind? Yes. Did she have her own place? Yes. Did she have a job? Yes. Did she have a car? Yes. She was a 30-something-year-old woman that had the ability to take care of a child, but for unknown reasons, I personally believe that she just didn't want the responsibility. She didn't want the responsibility, period. Okay. And so, one thing about being a mom, I am a mother, I have a child. Being a mom is a decision that you make. I want to be a mom or I don't want to be a mom, okay? And so she just didn't want to have the responsibility of day-to-day care of a child, all right? Now, I did see her, she would send things to her children. She would send gifts, she would send money. One of the boys lived locally, and so sometimes I'd go with her to go pick him up. She'd get his hair cut. She'd buy him some shoes. She'd take him out to eat. We'd go out to eat, and she'd drop him right on back off. Did any of her children live with her? No. Okay. She didn't go day to day. She didn't take anybody to school. None of that. Okay. Back to the story. She found herself pregnant again. And so she was one of my party friends. So she had called me and she had told me she was pregnant. She had went, to the doctor or whatever. She got a set of twins on the way. And she said something to me. She said, "What would you do?" She called me Rap, right? "What would you do, Rap?" I said, "Girl, I ain't got no time for no babies. We ain't got time for no babies." She's like, "You right. I ain't got no time for no babies." She's like, "Well, I got an appointment on Wednesday at 2:00. Would you take me?" I said, yeah, I got you. And at the time, It's easy for someone to have a strong stance against abortion if you've never been there, if you've never been in that shoes, if you've never known anybody that's been in those shoes, okay? So go on ahead, if you want to judge me, go on ahead and judge me. My comment section is open. So Wednesday came, 1:30, we rolled up there to the abortion clinic, all right? And I'm going to describe to you, I want to give you a visual and a spiritual sense of what I experienced when I was there, okay? Of course, most abortion clinics, I'm not sure, all of them are like this, but usually they're kind of secluded. They have a gate. It's not really labeled. The building's not a labeled abortion clinic. Okay. It'll say something else. It'll say something center, like the Williams Center. I'm just making up the Williams Center, or it'll say something like, a women's health department or something like that, but it's not going to say abortion clinic. It's not going to say we kill babies here. Okay. So the building was very private. Okay. So we got in there and there's plants and everything in the windows as I was walking up. There was all types of women that were coming in and out of the abortion clinic. So I don't want you believing the story of only Black women get abortions, or only Latina women, or only Asian women. When I tell you, I saw Hispanic women, I saw Black women, I saw white women, I saw Asian women. You see some of everybody getting abortions. So it's not something that's specifically isolated to a certain race. It's everybody. And not only that, it's many different ages. Okay, so sometimes a lot of us might think that, oh, it's going to be young women, like young teenagers that are getting abortions. No, they're there too, but there are grown women there. There are women in their 30s. There's women in their 40s there. There's women of all childbearing ages. I saw there that day. Okay, of all nationalities. Okay, I can't say, oh, there's more of this group or more of that group. So when I walked into the office with my friend, she was very confident. Okay, me, I was I didn't really care. I was just there because she wanted me to be there with her. But I'm going to tell you where I wouldn't call it enlightened, but my eyes were opened. All right. The spirit of the actual clinic was a dead one. All right. It was very quiet in there. And there was a young lady, and she was there with her boyfriend, or I think it was her boyfriend. And so, of course, you go in there, you sign in, you pay your money. Well, first you sign in, and then someone takes you to the back and they check to see if you're pregnant. You go back up to the front, you pay your money. And at that time it was $300. You pay your money, and then they go on ahead and, tell you to have a seat, and then they'll call you back. Okay. So she went on ahead, signed in, she went in the back, they tested her, made sure, she was in fact pregnant. And then she paid her money, and we sat back down. So as I'm sitting down, she was very nonchalant about it, just like me at the time. But as I was soaking up the environment and the atmosphere, I was frozen in terror. I was frozen in terror because as I saw women go back, and it was busy. Okay, there's like no downtime. Like as soon as somebody goes back, somebody else is coming back. As soon as somebody goes to the back, somebody else is coming back in. So I had the opportunity I think they were like double doors. As the double doors kind of swung open and shut, I was able to see one of the physicians. I didn't go back there, but I was able to see one of the physicians. And he was, a light-skinned Black man about my complexion, and he had a jacket on, and I saw him kind of, I guess, taking a break behind some steps and sitting there. And I remember just seeing, I only saw the side of his face, and as he went in and out of rooms or whatever, but I remember thinking to myself that there wasn't life in his face. You know what I'm saying? He just seemed very solid. He kind of had that look. Have you ever came in contact with someone that had just kind of recently gotten out of prison, and they have done a really, really long time, and they have like this kind of frozen look on their face? They don't really have any emotions on their face. That's kind of what he had on his face, on the profile views that I had of him. And so, anyways, back to the story of a young lady that was sitting across from us. She was rubbing her stomach. Okay, so she had already went back there. They, confirmed that she was indeed pregnant. Her boyfriend paid for it. And he was sitting right next to her, and he was very, I don't care. He's only there to make sure she had this happen. So she was rocking back and forth and rubbing her stomach, and she would lean on his shoulder. And then he would kind of be like, yo, get off me. And then she, would rub her stomach again, and you just rock. And from just her behavior, I never said anything to her. Her behavior was she wanted to keep it. she was agonized. She wanted to keep it, and in her body, by her leaning on him and just kind of trying to like make contact with him, she was saying, you know, talk, let's talk, she didn't want to do it. Okay. But him, you could already tell he was like, look, this is about to happen. That's it. And so, when I saw that, it was just, it hurt me. It hurt me. Okay. And there was a woman that went back, really short lady. She had went back there, and, she had already been confirmed that she was pregnant. She went back there. And mind you, I used to think abortions were like a long procedure. It's not. An abortion is like 10, 15 minutes, if that. It's a really, really, really fast procedure. So she goes back there, comes back about 10 minutes later. And mind you, they kind of knock you out a little bit. So the women that would come out of the back, like their faces, you can tell like they were kind of out of it a little bit. Okay. And then they were all doubled over. And it looked like something was missing from them. Okay, like they lost something. They looked lost. They looked like they lost something, and they're out of it, and they're doubled over like this. And then, when you go to have an abortion, you have to bring somebody with you. And so the woman that was there with her got her and escorted her to the car, and I was able to see out the window, her friend helping her into the car. And so I must have seen probably 3 or 4 women that went through this abortion thing. And I was just dead frozen. Like I wish I can just verbally articulate to you what these women's faces look like, what their spirits look like, the spirit of the abortion clinic, and how it just was all wrong. And I was frozen in fear. I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. Like in my heart, I wanted to just grab my friend and have her leave, but I was so scared. Just fear just overtook me. And so it was her turn. She got up and she went out, and I was shaking, and I was confused. I had never been in a situation like that before, and it totally took me off guard. And so as I was waiting for my friend, other women came back doubled over. Their faces looked like something was snatched from them. They were looking lost. They were kind of out of it. And it just was like, it was just a terrible, terrible, terrible experience. So my friend comes from the back, and she looked the same way, doubled over. And the nurse, she looks at me and she says, "Are you with her?" Because I was like sitting there. It's not funny, but I was just sitting there like, and the nurse is like, "Are you with her?" And I was like, she's like, "Come on," And so I went over there, and I didn't know what to do. Okay. So the nurse helped me. I got her arm over me, and we're on our way out to the parking lot. And so as I'm holding her and she's clenching her stomach, and she's like kind of out of it, she said, "Rap, that's not something you ever want to experience." She said, "Don't ever do this, Rap." And so it just like, it hurt me. It hurt me. It hurt me. I'm going to try not to get emotional during this video, but it really, really, really did hurt me. Okay. And I want to talk to you now about the haunting of the abortion and my friend. Okay. So me and her, we don't talk as much. We probably talk once or twice a year now, because she moved in a different state, got a whole different job, different everything. But every time I speak to her, she talks about those twins. "Oh, my twins would be this age. Oh, their birthday would be this month. Oh, they'd be 12 now." And so for many, many years, I carried that burden of, I was just as much at fault as she was of these twins. Okay. I could be on my social media looking at pictures of them growing up. I could be sitting up there invited to birthday parties of these twins. And so I was just as guilty as she was. Okay. And so every single time I talk to her, she talks about these twins. And she talks about them all the time. She talks about her dead twins more than she talks about the children that she has that are living. All right. And so I've had other friends that have experienced abortions, and they talk about their dead children. They always remember the month that they would have been born in. So if they got pregnant in January and in March they had an abortion, every September in their mind is a click of, "Oh, my child will be 1, my child will be 2, my child will be 3, my child will..." And then what's so crazy is other women that had gotten pregnant at the same time they are, that had their children, they look at their children that are alive and be like, "Oh, my kid will be starting kindergarten just like her kid will be starting kindergarten." And so this is something that's just, it's not something that you grow out of. Last time I spoke with my friend, she mentioned the twins would be 12 now. And so 12, this is something that's going to happen in a lifetime. And I had the opportunity to talk to a woman that's in her 80s. No, she's 70s. She's in her 70s. And she confessed that, hey, I had one too. And so she still thinks about it as a teenager. And so all these years, you always have this haunting, this thought of, oh, this could happen, or oh, that could happen. So even after the abortion and you have more children, if you let your children know, hey, I had an abortion, it's always going to be in their mind, oh, I'd have a sister or a brother. I'd have an older sibling. I'd have a younger sibling. So it's not just something that affects the mother. It affects the other family, especially the other siblings. I'm sorry it took too long. There's also this thing referred to as the spirit of torment. Okay, and if you're not familiar with the spirit of torment, it's an unclean spirit that gets on you, that torments you. It reminds you of your past. It reminds you what you did, and its sole purpose, the spirit of torment, its sole purpose is to make you feel like crap. To make you feel like crap, to snatch your value, to induce depression, induce thoughts of suicide. It just tears you up. It's like, in the old cartoons, they have like a little angel on this side and a little demon on this side, and the demon would always say the negative things, and the angel would pour positivity. Well, that spirit of torment would do stuff like that, okay? And what it does is it tears the woman up with the torment of this child, with this haunting, okay? And she carries that with her, and they carry that with her. They carry that with them throughout the rest of their life with this, okay? And what it also does is, with the contemplation of an abortion comes from, it's like a fear tactic, okay? And I talk a lot about the kingdom of darkness. I talk a lot about evil. I talk a lot about the demonic, and it's all under the kingdom of darkness is like this umbrella, okay? And they are militarized, okay? So just like our military has a chain of command and has things that they do and missions that they go on, the kingdom of darkness has the same thing. And a common thing that they like to use to attack people is a fear tactic, okay? And there is plenty of fear that comes in with the spirit of abortion. And with the fear that comes in, it opens up the demonic, okay? It opens up with the fear, bring not just fear in this situation and making this decision, but also the fear kind of seeps into other areas of the woman's life, okay? And in this, it makes her prisoner to her past, okay? And nothing's worse than when you're trying to push towards the future and you have your past kind of biting at you and reminding you of what happened yesterday, okay? And with that it's like a anchor. It's a weight on the woman's shoulders, okay? I can't really tell you what it's like from a man's point of view, but I'm sure men feel some kind of way about abortions as well. I'm just telling you as a woman, especially a woman of color, what my experience is and how I view it as, okay? We're gonna continue. All right. Let's talk about medical abortions. Okay, I am against abortions, but there's a line when it comes to medical abortions. All right, and I have a story for you that I from someone that I actually know, someone I had a conversation with that shared this with me last year. I have a friend, bless her heart, she passed a couple weeks ago. She passed last month because of an accident, but she started her period one day. Okay, she started her period. And it just kept going and going and going and going. She was bleeding, okay? Mind you, she's married. She's got 3 daughters, all under the age of like 16. She's got the daughters at the time were like between like 9, 15, and like 17, okay? She worked, she had a family, she had her little business or whatever. So she was successful, beautiful woman. She starts bleeding out. She ends up at the doctor's office. And they basically say, we can't really tell why you're bleeding so much. Give it some time. Okay. It's probably just your period or whatever. She ends up spiking a fever and ending up in the emergency room. Come to find out she had an ectopic pregnancy. She had a little baby growing in her fallopian tubes and was causing excruciating pain for her, was causing her fever and causing her to bleed out. To make a really long story short, they had to go in and remove the baby and the fallopian tube because what was going to happen, both of them were going to die. Okay. And she was already at a point to where she wasn't going to make it the next couple of weeks. She had already lost a lot of blood. She's already got a crazy infection down there. She's already got a fever. Okay. And she's already really, really sick and hospitalized. Okay. So she went on ahead and had a medical abortion. Do I agree with that medical abortion? Absolutely. Okay. She's already got a family. She's got 3 other girls she's got to take care of, and she was going to die if she didn't have it. So this was like a life or death situation. I understood it. Did I judge her for it? Absolutely not. The thing that comes in is, even though she needed this abortion in order for her to live, and I think that's totally acceptable. At times, having an abortion so that a woman can live is important, especially when she has other children. It's completely acceptable to me. The problem came in was that she blamed herself. Because she had 3 girls. She said, Nicci, I know that was my boy. I knew that was my boy. That was my son. And so for every single time we talked, she just felt so, she just would talk about that. And so even whether the abortion is for the greater good or not so good, I don't think it's ever a good idea. Even if it has a good explanation or a reason, the woman is still haunted by it. She still was experiencing the spirit of torment. She still blamed herself, and she did that because God has placed within each and every last one of us women this maternal instinct. Okay, and the maternal instinct just doesn't kick in when you see your baby. It kicks in when you find out an actual baby is there. Okay. And for those women out there, and yes, just in case you're thinking, well, there are women out there that have abortions all day long and could care less. Well, there's some other issues. There's some underlining issues with that. Okay. There's some underlining issues. And I've never known a woman like that, but I've heard of them. Okay. And so we're not going to talk about those, but I know they're out there. I know they exist. I know there are some women that get faithfully 2-3 abortions a year. I get it. We're not going to talk about them. They are broken women, and they have disassociated themselves with who they are, their own identity. That's why they have no emotional connection to their womb. Okay. But I'm telling you all this to share with you that, yes, I do believe abortions are wrong, but when it comes to medical abortions, they are totally necessary. Okay. So let's just say that, and then it's, I'm sure you've already heard in the 10 Commandments, I believe it's in the book of Leviticus, thou shalt not kill. Okay. And so one thing I did not want to get into this. Okay. But even with God, he loves us so much. He gives us the opportunity to choose him or not. Okay. And God wants us to choose him. He wants us to choose his word. He wants us to choose to follow his commandments. Okay. The commandments aren't just there. The 10 Commandments. And if you're not familiar with that, you can just look it up when you're done watching this. But the 10 Commandments are there for our own protection. Okay. Breaking these commandments, we kind of we place our own selves under the umbrella of safety. Okay. And so when we pull ourselves from under the umbrella of safety, we're kind of like little fawns, like little baby deer, just sitting there while like lions are all around us. When I say lions, I'm talking about the kingdom of darkness. They're there to kind of sift us they're there to just to consume us. Okay. And so what happens is that God wants us to choose him. All right. And so he wants us to choose to do the right thing. Now, as an individual, and I was talking to somebody about this morning, as an individual, to take Christian values and kind of force them down someone's throat, that's not what God wants for us. Okay. God wants us to choose him willingly. All right. And so with this Roe versus Wade, taking the choice from women is not something that I believe that God wants for us. He doesn't want us to kill people, but we have the choice to do it or to abide by it or not. Okay. And when I say kill people, I know that sounds really insensitive. I didn't mean to say it like that. Sorry. But one thing about it is to take that right from a woman and say, because of Christian values, we're not doing abortions no more. That's kind of like forcing a Christian value down her throat. That's kind of forcing her to adhere to a law that she didn't agree to. She didn't agree to take God as her Lord and personal. So she didn't agree to abide by these commandments. She didn't agree. This is for women that are seeking an abortion that's not for medical. Okay, for whatever. It can be from rape, molestation, or you just can't afford it, whatever. Okay. And so I believe that, taking someone their choice away is wrong. Okay. I believe women should be able to have the choice to do that. And whatever choice that woman makes is between her and God. Okay. If a woman decides to have an abortion, that's between her and her God. I ain't got nothing to do with that. And making that decision for her is wrong, because what it does is it kind of puts God in a negative light. Okay. And so as an unbeliever, with my mind thinking as like an unbeliever, if I'm an unbeliever and I am I cannot have an abortion because of some believing things. I'm going to look at God in a negative light. You know, that Christian stuff. I got this situation going on. And one thing about the kingdom of darkness, it wants to make God look bad. Okay. And so say it again that God wants us to choose him, not us to have our, not kind of have him forced in our throats. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and jump ahead a little bit. I know I've been on here for a while. The last thing is, what can you do with the spiritual heaviness of abortion? Okay, what can you do with the spiritual heaviness of abortion? I had this spiritual heaviness for a very, very long time after my friend. Even though I wasn't the one that physically had it, I was guilty. Period. I don't care what nobody says. I was just as guilty as she was. So I too had that blood on my hands. And so what did I do with that spiritual heaviness? What can you do with the spiritual heaviness? You know, with that is an emotional healing that is needed. Okay. And what did I do? I went to the great healer because I'm Bible based. I went to God and I confessed my sins. He said, if you are, he says in his word, if you are faithful, he said, it slipped my mind, but he said, if you are confess your sins one to another. Okay. So I've told somebody or two people confess, and then not only confess to God, Lord, you know, I was involved in this abortion of these two little innocent souls. God, forgive me. I apologize. Lord, remove this heaviness from me. Heal me because of this. Heal my friend as well. Even though I didn't really talk, because it was still kind of a situation, it's still kind of a, I don't like bringing it up. She'll bring it up. You know, I don't like bringing it up, but it still bothered me for a long time. It still is something that I remember, but it's like a learning experience. But did God forgive me for that? Yes, he did. Do I still have a spiritual heaviness about it? I don't have a spiritual heaviness, but it does remain in the back of my mind. I'm glad I was able to experience that because I'm able to share it with you right now. I'm able to emphasize with women that have been there, okay, and not be on this judgy thing. And I want to encourage you, if you have a spiritual heaviness, to go on ahead and take it to God in prayer. You don't have to go through if you don't have to go through this thing alone. You don't have to deal with the spirit of torment alone. You don't have to deal with like this haunting of your baby, you know, reminding you and it kind of weighing on you like a 1,000 bricks on you. Go on ahead and take that burden and give it at the feet of God. There are so many people that have done 10 times worse. And when it comes to sin, there is no sin that's greater than another sin. Okay. I know homosexuality is a big deal. Okay. In the Christian world. Okay. Homosexuality is the same thing as, it might be a different level of sin, but a sin is a sin. There's no degrees here. There's not a first degree sin, a second degree sin, or a third degree sin. Someone having an abortion is looked at the same way as someone stealing. Okay. It's the same thing. All right. So I don't want us as women to think that we don't have any value. Okay. And it's a crazy emotional thing to go through afterwards. And if you are watching this and you're contemplating it, there's a darker side of abortion that they don't let you know. Okay. When you go to the doctor's office, when they're explaining it to you, what's going on, you know, they don't tell you about the depression. They don't tell you about the loss of value. They don't tell you about, you know, the downtime, you know, and it's a crazy thing. Okay. But I just wanted to share that with you. You make the decision yourself. Okay. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I would love to hear them in the comment section below. You can feel free to ask me anything that you want. Thank you so much for pulling up on this video. I am Nicci the Great, and together we are growing, sharing, and thriving.